Give Widowmaker fall damage. Given that this is one of the more reasonable requests I've received in Twitch chat, I decided to actually do it. Oh, and everyone else has fall damage too. Hey, it's only fair. So, what's it like playing Overwatch with fall damage? After playtesting over 100 matches with viewers, we have a pretty good idea. Between iterating on the mode, discovering workshop bugs, and collecting tons of statistics, there are a lot of interesting things to cover. But first we need to ask why. Why add fall damage to Overwatch? The game was designed without fall damage in mind, so wouldn't tacking it on completely ruin the game? This was actually a big discussion back when Overwatch first launched. Many early Overwatch players migrated from other first-person shooters, which commonly feature fall damage as a mechanic. To illustrate this, here's a timeline of multiplayer shooters and whether or not they have fall damage. Not all franchises are present, and I included some single-player games if I thought they were notable, but generally speaking, almost every shooter in the late 90s and 2000s have fall damage of some kind. Even Halo, which famously simplified many first-person shooter mechanics to make it accessible on consoles, included fall damage. Halo 2 and Halo 3 deviated from this by not having fall damage enabled, though fall damage was still common across the genre. Portal is a single-player first-person puzzle game without fall damage, but before launch there was mild concern that a lack of fall damage could be underwhelming. In hindsight, it's a bit funny. Back then, fall damage was so prevalent that its exclusion was significant enough to worry about. Fall damage continued to be commonplace among multiplayer shooters, but eventually more games began to drop fall damage. For example, some existing series like Borderlands stopped including fall damage for future titles, and entirely new series like Titanfall began to release without fall damage from the beginning. It's around this time we begin to see an uptick in shooters without fall damage, and right in the center of this shift lies the release of Overwatch. By this point, feedback regarding fall damage was beginning to change. While some expressed their desire for fall damage to be part of the game, most players celebrated its absence. Many said fall damage would feel out of place in Overwatch's fast-paced environment. Others said it would ruin heroes like Pharah, Winston, Genji, anyone with a crumb of vertical mobility. But the most common complaint regarding fall damage was simple: it's not fun. And that brings us to today, 8 years and one number later. Do any of these claims about fall damage being bad for the game hold up? Welp, there's only one way to find out. The implementation of fall damage can be broken down into 2 steps. First, detect when a player has landed on the ground, and second, determine how much damage to deal. For the first step, the workshop provides a built-in condition called isOnGround, which makes things easy. For the second step, there are a myriad of ways to calculate fall damage. One option is to base the fall damage on the amount of time spent in the air. Raft supposedly functions this way, at least according to the wiki, but I don't have Raft, so I can't verify this. Another option is to base fall damage on the distance fallen. This is how Minecraft implements fall damage. The difference between the starting Y coordinate and the ending Y coordinate directly determines how much damage is taken. The last option is to base fall damage on the speed in which you hit the ground. Pretty much every Source Engine game handles fall damage like this. It doesn't matter how far you fall or how long you're airborne, all that matters is your landing velocity. I immediately decided against having time-based fall damage, since heroes who spend a lot of time in the air, like Pharah and Mercy, would just instantly die upon landing. For similar reasons, I also decided against having distance-based fall damage. While I think this system works well in a simple game like Minecraft, many games with distance-based fall damage feel very unintuitive to play around. Seriously, you can find a clip after clip of people being confused why they died to fall damage, which is understandable because it does look confusing at times. For these reasons, I went with a velocity-based fall damage system. This type of fall damage has the potential to play very well with the dynamicity of Overwatch. You can use character-specific abilities to soften your landing speed and avoid fall damage, and you can use knockback abilities to down smash other players to their death. With our method of fall damage chosen, there's still the question of how punishing fall damage should be. Quake is a game that uses velocity-based fall damage, but the damage dealt is always 5 or 10. This makes falling past a certain point completely inconsequential, since the maximum damage you can take is 10. In contrast, Half-Life 2 has a granular range of fall damage, dealing anywhere between 1 fall damage and 750 fall damage, though you'll die after just 100 damage. Team Fortress 2 has more generous scaling. At a minimum, fall damage removes around 11% of your max health, but this scales all the way up to a maximum of 58% of your max health. I decided to use TF2's fall damage model as a starting point for the workshop mode. It isn't as negligible as Quake's fall damage, but it isn't as lethal as Half-Life 2's fall damage. It's just right. So here's how fall damage will be implemented. When the player lands, we store their vertical velocity to determine how hard they landed. Except this won't work, because by the time the is on ground condition becomes true, their vertical velocity has already been zeroed out from landing. We actually need a separate rule that stores their velocity while airborne. This rule will then loop every server tick for as long as the player is not on the ground. When the player does land, the wait action will continue waiting until the end of the current tick, but the loop will not restart. This effectively stores the player's velocity from the previous tick, so now the fall damage rule can reference this variable without it being zeroed out. Since the goal for this playtest is to mimic TF2's fall damage model as close as possible, the vertical velocity needs to be converted from meters to hammer units, since that's what the source engine uses to measure distance. If the player lands at a speed slower than 650 units per second, they won't take any fall damage. But if they land faster than this, their fall velocity is divided by 300 and multiplied by 5 to get the base damage value. This is exactly the same as just dividing the fall velocity by 60, but TF2 does it this way, so I won't question it. Next, the damage value is multiplied by the player's maximum health divided by 100. This makes the fall damage proportional to the max health of your current hero, so Mei would take more fall damage than Tracer, for example. There's a subtle issue with using the player's max health, though. Say Reaper lands with a velocity of 895 units per second. His max health is 300, so he takes 44 fall damage. Now say Reaper falls from the same height, but with overhealth given to him from Lucio's ultimate. Since his max health is much higher, he ends up taking significantly more fall damage. This interaction didn't seem intuitive to me, so I decided to ignore overhealth when assessing the player's max health. The way to do this via the workshop is to add each maximum health type separately. There is one final step TF2 performs that I did not carry over. At this point, the fall damage would be multiplied by a randomly chosen number between 0.8 and 1.2. This would give all fall damage a random spread of 20%. Since I planned on collecting fall damage statistics later on, I decided not to include this random variance, since it could skew the data. With all that out of the way, we can finally apply the fall damage. Add a few debug features along with an is alive condition that ended up being a mistake, and the first iteration of the fall damage mode is ready to go. All that's left is to playtest it. Oh right, we need people for that. Fortunately, there was a frantic mob of Twitch viewers willing to be experimented on. What could possibly go wrong? Does Doom take fall damage? He absolutely does. There are no special rules. Everyone has fall damage. If I go up here and I fall down, bleh. When somebody dies from fall damage, it'll show up like in the bottom center of the screen. So we actually did one test before this back in October, and what I learned was fall damage kind of doesn't matter much unless you're already low health. Like that. I just took fall damage. Okay, so yeah, I'm so used to in Overwatch just never taking fall damage. I just did it again. You really want to use Farah's boosters to soften your fall when you land. I want someone to die from fall damage. Like, I want to see someone die from fall damage. You know, someone other than me. I really want to see what Sigma ult does. We have Sigma ult. I think Sigma ult will do the ultimate damage plus fall damage. So everyone may just instantly die. Who's in it? Is no one in it? I died to fall damage. I think I'm the second person to die to fall damage. Okay, total fall damage. So, okay, 11 people died to fall damage. I only saw 2 of them and they were mine. Yeah, so it turns out it's pretty difficult to actually notice when someone dies of fall damage. Most fall deaths happened completely off screen, or they were barely within view when I wasn't paying attention. Well, except for this one. Watch this, I'm gonna save the game. Oh no, the Lucio boop reduced my fall! Uh-oh.
What are those?
No, he did it to me!
Free Marblr.
We continued playing for a few hours, and the number of fall deaths per match declined to the point where nobody was dying of fall damage anymore. It seemed as though everyone had slowly gotten the hang of things, so for the sake of testing, fall damage was tripled for the next match. Alright, just a little hop, let's see what happens. How much damage is this? Okay, that's half my health bar. What you have to do is when you dive in, okay, next life. Here's a Junkrat strat. Every time you jump, you want to leave your second mine to soften the fall so you don't take any damage. I can also probably force a lot of people to take fall damage. That's my new goal. Ana, she's gonna die. Yes! Oh, I like this. I mean, this is probably too high, but I like this. Did I just kill Somber with fall damage? I think I did. Yeah, Junkrat's crazy. Junkrat's the best hero in this. Okay, a lot more fall damage deaths I am noticing. Apparently tripling the fall damage makes people die more often. Oh, Somber just died. Wait. Since when could you steer Riptire with A and D? I'm just now learning this. Look, you can go left and right with A and D. I'm dead. So far, things are going well. The workshop mode works fine and people are having fun experimenting with different heroes. But this is where problems begin to emerge. Mauga's more than unplayable? I want to see this. Yeah, he lands at... Yeah, that's tough. It's probably worse off of a ledge. No, it's actually the exact same. It's not worth charging ever, actually. Wow, wow, that was a mistake. I think he's the worst tank. I want to try ball, though. Get me out of here. Going. I got Widow. Oh my god. Okay, the pile driver. That did 2,000 damage. How about Reinhardt? Reinhardt stays on the ground. I want to be Sigma. I need to see how Sigma's ult works. Wait, why are there only 10 seconds? Oh, because it's round 3. Oh, now I really need to get ult. Now I'm really incentivized. Days I miss a rock instantly. God damn it, why did I put it? I did it instantly. Now we'll never know. We'll never know if Sigma ult does 1,000,000 damage. Gimme all your juices. We've got to have a big one. How much fall damage does it do? Oh, it just insta-kills them. Okay. Yeah, Sigma ult might be a little overpowered. Yeah, we learned a lot this playtest. Between Mauga's charge causing self-damage, Ball's pile driver instantly killing him, and Sigma's ult being a death trap, increasing the fall damage ended up being very useful in identifying problems with the mode. So logically, there's only one thing to do next. Fall damage will just instantly kill you. People are already dying. Just from doing their regular rollouts. Half of the server's dead. Okay, Mercy's actually the best pick, because Mercy can just glide by holding space. So she'll never hit the ground hard enough to take damage. Oh, Mercy just died. This is scary. Gotta stay on the ground. No! 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 My whole team is dying. The whole server is dying of fall damage. To make a prediction on how many fall damage deaths there will be this game. I'm going to say 50. At least 50. If there's less than 50 fall damage deaths, I will be stunned. Okay, well, 3 of us had the same idea. I'm scared to ever use my fade because I'm using it as a survival. You can't do that. You can't escape with the mines. What is happening? People have lost their mind. Okay, we've learned this. If you add fall damage to Overwatch, people lose their minds. You now have to like defuse enemy petals as Moira. If you're Moira, the meta is to defuse the enemy's C4 petal. I'll defuse it, guys. I'll defuse it.
Bomb has been defused. Counter-terrorists win.
Oh, that's devious. That's a devious hook. Okay, well, hey, wrap it up. The bit's old. Ow. 66. I was spot on. Still 0 fall damage deaths? Yeah, but you're Pharah. If you want Joshi to die, you need to hack him.
Best way to counter Mercy? You click on her head.
What the? Who is this guy?
Got him! Okay, so making fall damage do 1 trillion damage results in some interesting gameplay. The most interesting ability with this configuration is definitely Lifeweaver's pedal platform. With lethal fall damage, it suddenly becomes an offensive weapon, and that's exactly how it was used. No, you— oh my god, I tried to save myself! Even though this was the most fun I've had playing Overwatch in a long time, it's hard to argue that insta-kill fall damage is a good thing for the game. We went back to playing with regular fall damage, but it still wasn't as impactful as I'd hoped. Turns out there's a very sneaky reason for this. It has to do with the scaling of the fall damage. In the source engine, the acceleration of gravity is linear up until you reach terminal velocity. With a linear fall damage formula, you end up with a very intuitive fall damage scale. In Overwatch, the acceleration of gravity actually decreases as you approach terminal velocity, which kind of simulates air resistance. With linear fall damage scaling, 2 falls from dramatically different heights can result in a small change of landing velocity, and thus a small change in fall damage. To offset this, we want exponential fall damage scaling. This way we'll have a better relationship between fall height and fall damage. After tweaking the formula to be more damaging at faster falling speeds, we're left with fall damage scaling that feels impactful, but not overbearing. Since we won't be using TF2's formula anymore, we'll go back to measuring things in meters. The new fall damage formula will be the player's fall velocity squared divided by 15. Minimally, this deals 10% of the player's max health, and at terminal velocity it deals 60% of the player's max health. Next, a few abilities were made exempt from fall damage. Ball's pile driver sends him downward at 98 meters per second, which is over 3 times Overwatch's terminal velocity. This made the slam unusable since it almost always resulted in instant death, so giving it immunity was an easy decision. Mauga's charge sends him downward at 25 meters per second, which also does heavy self-damage. It doesn't seem intuitive to call this fall damage, so it was also made immune. Players caught within Sigma's ult were also given immunity from fall damage. The slam from Flux is basically fake fall damage, so there was no need to apply even more fall damage on top of it. Winston received a lot of fall damage in the early playtests, so to make him viable, his jump pack now grants him fall damage immunity. He will still take fall damage if he lands without using the leap. Similarly, Doomfist's slam was given fall damage immunity. Doomfist especially needed this since he experiences a higher gravity when using Seismic Slam, which was overly punishing. Venture was given fall damage immunity when using Burrow, since it seemed appropriately video gamey and it fit the animation well. And these were the only abilities that were given fall immunity. You may be wondering why Baptiste wasn't given any immunity. It is true that he takes a ton of fall damage using his jump boots, but he outputs so much self-healing that it's very rarely lethal, so giving the jump boots a risk versus reward mechanic was fine.
Okay, here's the thing, chat. What if there's so much healing in Overwatch that this much fall damage is negligible? Like, what if it doesn't matter?
You might also be wondering about Doomfist's ult. Wouldn't it insta-kill him without fall immunity? Well, no. Without any modifications to the game, Meteor Strike inflicts no fall damage. This is because when Doomfist ults, he doesn't actually go into the sky. It's faked via character animation. If I show Doomfist's true position during the ult, you'll see he stays on the ground the entire time. Because of this, he has zero vertical velocity when landing after the ult. If you right-click during the ult, then Doomfist does actually travel upward. But as soon as the ult finishes, he instantly downwarps to the ground with no vertical velocity applied. This is especially noticeable if you use Meteor Strike above a death barrier. You'll instantly teleport to it and die. All of this works out fine for the purposes of the fall damage mode, since I would have given Meteor Strike immunity anyway. But it reveals a big problem with implementing velocity-based fall damage in Overwatch. There are multiple systems that govern a player's movement, and not all of them care about velocity. Ramatra's Vortex is a perfect example. This ability forcibly pulls affected players down to the ground, so logically it increases fall damage, right? That's what we thought during playtesting, but Vortex doesn't modify player velocity at all. Instead, it positionally translates the player downward at a rate of 12 meters per second. Think of this as teleporting the player 0.192 units down every server tick, leaving their vertical velocity unaffected. I can't change the underlying mechanics of abilities using the workshop, so every now and then there's a situation where a player looks like they should have taken fall damage but didn't, and vice versa. To help telegraph when fall damage occurs, I added some visual effects. The workshop is extremely limited in this regard, as there are few particles and sound effects to choose from. In the end, a player taking fall damage looks like this, and fall deaths look like this. Wonderful. The kill feed also received some improvement. Now if someone boops a player to their death, the attacker is awarded kill credit and ult charge. Unfortunately, the workshop doesn't provide any means of modifying how the kill feed presents a kill, so there's no way to disambiguate a fall damage kill from a regular kill. I would have liked to use this environmental kill icon that's been mysteriously missing throughout all of Overwatch 2, but we'll just have to cope. Remember earlier when I said the is alive condition was a mistake? This actually resulted in a bug where a player died as soon as they respawned. The way workshop rules work is they will only execute actions if each condition is true, but it doesn't matter when each condition becomes true. In this case, Farah died while flying, and since gravity still affects dead players, she landed on the ground post-death. Once she respawned and became alive again, the lethal fall damage was applied. The solution for this is to not have the is alive condition as a rule condition, but to instead have it as a regular if action. Now when the player lands, they must also be alive the moment the if action executes. If they aren't, nothing will happen. This is a great example of how two seemingly identical implementations of code can have wildly different behavior if not tested properly. Finally, I added extensive per-hero statistic tracking. At the end of the video, we'll analyze the data and see exactly which heroes are hurt the most by fall damage and which heroes are affected the least. We can go farm that data with more playtesting.
What the what's happened to you? Why did that guy go flying? And then he died from that. Because I'm just fighting this guy and then he just gets launched up in the sky. Wow, I mean, I guess that counts. Technically, though, he would not have died unless I shot him there. I don't like being here. Am I gonna be the first death? Oh my god, that was close. Oh, goodbye, Lifeweaver. Whoa, wait, whoa, what? Alright, that's interesting. There were 2 fall deaths. I did not see them. Alright, who's responsible? Time for the public shaming. Kiriko died of fall damage due to air trek as Ana. Oh my god, I think it's the melee. Melee does knockback. So because you meleeed her while she was jumping, you have kill credit right now. Very rare kill. If only I could have something in the kill feed, like a custom icon. That would have been a rare kill. Die fall damage. Don't use Suzu. Oh, she used Suzu. Dude, people are good at this. People are pretty good at avoiding fall damage. Oh my god. That was just fall damage was not on the mind. You know, just regular Overwatch. I'm gonna go get some health. We need to find maps that have a lot of verticality. We could try Shambali, why not? This is April Fool's? I didn't do anything April Fool's. Oh. How do I not do April Fool's? Okay, what is this? The April Fool's modes are available in the custom games menu, which is fine, but they have identical names to the regular modes. There's absolutely no way to tell each mode apart other than continuously restarting the match to see what each one is. But surely that's not a problem, since you can just save a preset with only the correct modes enabled, right? Well, no. Since each mode has the same name, they compile to the same action when creating a workshop script. These 2 scripts are treated exactly the same, so they both arbitrarily enable one of the 2 modes. This meant we had to restart the lobby nearly every map change, since doing so would re-enable April Fool's mode. What? Where's my turret? Oh my god. I'm gonna get hooked. I'm gonna get hooked so hard. Why are you hammering me? Damn it! Wow, there is no fall damage that game at all. Oh my god, I shot him once and he died of fall damage. Wait, these 2 ults? I never use these 2. Yes! Oh my god, I'm so glad. I just had to not miss all my shots. Haha, I'm above you, you can't see me. No, 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 no! A fraction of a second means life or death in the fall damage mode. What the? Fall damage? Yeah, I didn't get credit though, but I caused it. Let's do Hanamura. This map's back. This used to be out of the game for a while. Okay, but for this to really be a throwback, we have to stall infinitely. It's even worse now because now Kiriko's in the game. I could just teleport to a teammate on the point. Someone's up here. I will not let a Mercy player get away unharmed. Yeah, I just wanted to watch that one. Oh, I got Moira. I got Biangle. Wait, what? Did the mine push you down into the ground really fast? Or no, you hit on the way down. Unfortunate. Somebody already died of fall damage. It's been 10 seconds. Whoa, wait a minute. I think Venture pushed you into the ground. Oh my god, that is sick. We're drilled straight down into the soil. That's absolutely brutal. Oh, is it April Fool's? Okay, who do I know who's it? Okay, Malga's small on April Fool's. If I'm tiny, I'm gonna blow my lid.
A gun in your chain.
Oh, died of fall damage. There's the first one, Junkrat. Probably because I damaged him on the way down. I always have to watch for a Junkrat assassination from the sky, which is like, I always have to look up. Like that. Prick. Oh, we have 2 Junkrats. Who's gonna win the 1v1? Oh, what a wimpy fall death. Oh, okay, really? Ban him. I'm gonna shield this one, don't worry, guys. What? Oh, that was almost a fall damage death. Oh no, you know, I'm gonna kick you to death. Didn't Mercy kill me that exact spot yesterday? Zen and Sigma should be immune to fall damage? Well, I disagree because it's not the floating that matters. Because it's not the fall that kills you, it's the deceleration. Unless Zen farts on the way down to slow down, it's not gonna help him. Oh, hey, Venture. What's up? I'm gonna die fall damage. No! Oh, hey, we won. Why is Ramatra's health 750? I don't have any code that modifies player health, so he shouldn't have more health than usual. It's April Fool's mode. It's April Fool's mode. Ah! Oh my god. This entire mode is just like Junkrat air defense. Fall damage? Nope, he's alive. We'll just kill him. Come on, die fall damage. You have to. No, I got some damage though. I saw the little hit pip. Oh, I hit him! Oh, he's gonna die! That was the sickest fall kill ever recorded. They do still have a Widow. I don't know where she is though. Oh, Mercy. Wait, no, she didn't hit the ground too hard. See, you gotta lay him up with the mine. And she swoops in for the kill. That's my... That Mercy was shooting my mine. Oh, we're both going down, no! Okay, well, it doesn't get any better than that. After playing nearly 100 hours of Overwatch with fall damage, it's pretty safe to say that things can get chaotic. But how chaotic? Now that we've logged a ton of statistics, we can answer that. Let's take a look at the data. Of the 2,885,499 total damage taken by players, 148,654 of it was from fall damage. Of the 2,767 total player deaths, 73 were due to fall damage, 40 of which were directly caused by another player. If we look at a per hero breakdown, the hero who takes the most fall damage per 10 minutes is Wrecking Ball, and by quite a large margin. Junkrat comes in second place, followed by Doomfist, Sojourn, Baptiste. There's a pattern where high mobility heroes receive more fall damage than low mobility heroes, which was a common prediction. It's worth pointing out that for technical reasons, any fall damage Echo receives while duplicating someone counts towards Echo. Heroes in the middle of this chart are pretty close to one another, but as we scroll to the bottom, we begin to see a drop-off for heroes with limited or no vertical mobility options. The heroes who sustained the least fall damage per 10 minutes are Ana, Orisa, Mauga, Torbjorn, and Zenyatta. But fall damage isn't everything. How do things change if we look at fall deaths?
Sojourn just barely edges out Junkrat for first place, which was surprising at first, but makes sense when you consider her slide jump. The slide jump launches her high enough to take guaranteed fall damage if she lands on equal ground, and since the slide is often used as an escape tool when low health, you have the perfect recipe for accidental fall deaths. Pharah and Echo having so many fall deaths did surprise me since they can just hover to prevent it. I suppose heroes who can avoid fall damage are the same ones that get themselves into fall damage situations in the first place, so it balances out. Once again, heroes in the middle of the chart are packed close together, but I want to highlight Baptiste and Wrecking Ball. Even though these two were high up on the fall damage chart, they have relatively low fall deaths. Baptiste has very high self-healing capabilities, and Wrecking Ball has a large health pool with adaptive shields, all of which contribute to lower fall deaths. This correlation of high self-sustainability and low fall deaths is best highlighted by the fact that most tanks did not suffer a single fall death throughout testing. Most of these heroes have burst healing or invulnerability that allows them to prevent a fall death, such as Ice Block, Fortify, Take a Breather, Overload, or Zarya Bubble to name a few. Of course, with a lot more testing, all of these heroes are sure to eventually die of fall damage. We just didn't have any during our limited time. I want to mention that D.Va technically has 0 fall deaths because the game doesn't consider the demeching process to be a death. Only Pilot D.Va dying counts as a death. So for consistency, only Pilot D.Va fall deaths count here. Here's a side-by-side view of fall damage and fall deaths for each hero, if you just want to see how your mains perform. The lower the value, the more survivability they have in this mode. This next chart might look a bit confusing at first, but I'll explain. Here's the ratio of fall damage received to total damage received. The dashed bar is the hero's total damage received per 10 minutes, all of it, no matter the source. And the solid bar is the hero's fall damage received per 10 minutes. This can loosely be thought of as how much extra damage someone takes with the addition of fall damage. We see familiar names at the top of the chart. Higher mobility heroes have a higher percentage of their damage taken from falling. A secondary benefit of this chart is that we can see how much more total damage tanks receive than anyone else. People really like shooting tanks. As we reach the bottom, we see a few heroes that have less than 1% of their total damage received from falling. This is a huge disparity compared to Junkrat's near 17% at the top. Orisa narrowly wins out over Malga for the title of least impacted by fall damage. Here is the same type of chart, but for fall deaths and total deaths instead. Again, familiar DPS heroes at the top, but this time, Sojourn and Sombra are higher than Junkrat. As we scroll down, you'll see Wrecking Ball has jumped up quite a few places compared to the fall deaths chart. He may have a very low fall death rate, but he also has the lowest general death rate of any hero, so fall damage did end up killing him a decent amount. There aren't many surprises after this, although I would have expected Lucio to incur more fall deaths than he did given his crazy mobility. On the other hand, wall riding does reset his fall velocity, and there are walls everywhere. And just like the fall deaths chart, here are the heroes who didn't die to fall damage at all. Here's a side-by-side view of the previous 2 charts, as if there weren't enough colors on your screen already. Heroes with smaller percentage values fare better in the fall damage mode. Heroes with higher percentage values take more damage and die more often than they would without fall damage. This final statistic isn't super useful, but I'd like to show it anyway. Here are each hero's fall damage kills per 10 minutes. Junkrat absolutely clears here, averaging a fall kill every 10 minutes. He is, without a doubt, the best equipped character in a fall damage setting. His concussion mine always sends enemies at an upward trajectory, regardless of where it hits, and because he can do this at range, he racks up kills fast. No one even comes close, not even knockback heavy heroes like Wrecking Ball, Venture, or Lucio.
Even Mercy has more fall kills per 10 than Lucio, and this was due to her single melee fall kill shown earlier. Ana's only fall kill was due to a melee attack too. Sigma had a melee fall kill as well. That's the problem with this statistic. It's completely dependent on what my implementation of what counts as a fall kill. Damage is damage, and deaths are deaths, but what's a kill? Is it just applying knockback? Roadhog's hook technically doesn't apply knockback, so hooking someone to their death won't give him credit. Same thing with Sleep Dart and various other stuns. Should Quick Melee even give credit? It applies knockback, but you could argue it shouldn't count. For that matter, what about the fall damage immunities? You could argue that Baptiste should have fall damage immunity, which would place him further down the chart. You could argue that Winston shouldn't have fall damage immunity, which would move him up the chart. One of you sickos will probably argue that Ball should take fall damage when using Pile Driver. My point is, the fall immunity system is kind of arbitrary. What decides who has fall immunity? Who decides whether or not it's fair? These questions aren't new. In doing research for this topic, I found out that Overwatch did have fall damage at one point during development. There's a very interesting post written by former game director Jeff Kaplan that I'd like to read.
We had fall damage in for a few weeks. It was very difficult to decide which heroes should have it and which shouldn't. At first, they all had it. It felt terrible on Pharah because you would crater if you weren't careful, yet if you feathered your boosters just before impact, you were fine. All in all, it felt bad on her, so we just made her immune to falling damage. Then you would play a character like Widowmaker or Reaper. Both of those heroes have abilities that allowed them to get to very high places, yet because they were subject to falling damage, they would crater when they jumped down. Widowmaker had to literally use her grappling hook to get down from places. We then tried tuning the damage to be non-fatal, but soon we just entered a space of, why are we doing this again? And removed it.
What Jeff said about fall immunity here is more or less the same problem I encountered, except instead of giving entire heroes immunity, I gave specific abilities immunity. Outside of the balancing aspect of this, it's just plainly unintuitive for players when some things cause fall damage and others don't. Something I found intriguing about Jeff's post is how the fall damage was tuned to be non-fatal just before being cut. This suggests that, early on, Overwatch's fall damage was incredibly punishing. We actually went through a similar phase in playtesting where fall damage instantly killed. It was clearly too much, but we eventually adjusted the damage formula to a place people were happy with. So what's the takeaway from all this? What's the answer to the 8-year-old question? Does fall damage ruin Overwatch? No. Should Overwatch have fall damage? Also, no. With appropriately tuned fall damage, the game is perfectly playable. It's just a matter of whether or not the added complexity of this mechanic would add to the experience of most players, which it probably wouldn't. Although I disagree that fall damage adds nothing to the game. There's something about it that can't be objectively measured. It's funny. It would be a waste to evaluate fall damage using nothing but statistics. This is a video game after all, and I'd be lying if I said many of the fall deaths I witnessed weren't some of the funniest moments I've had playing Overwatch. Humor alone won't, and shouldn't, save a flawed mechanic, but having the chance to at least experience it is fun, and dramatically changes the way you approach the game. If you want to try playing Overwatch with fall damage, I have good news and bad news. The good news? There's a workshop code you can use. The bad news? The workshop doesn't work. Shop. I actually underplayed it during playtesting for the sake of brevity, but the workshop is in a complete state of disrepair. It started getting really bad with the April Fool's update, which added duplicate game modes. Some game modes even have 3 copies. I don't even know how this happened, but it causes several scripts to break, including the one I made for the spawn points video. We also kept encountering a bug where the match would start under open queue rules, despite the lobby being set to roll queue. Wait, why do I only have 375 health? This could only be fixed by opening and immediately closing a specific menu. Furthermore, copy and pasting custom game settings just seems to not work at all anymore. Even the default lobby settings cause an error if you paste them in. These are built-in presets and they don't work. If you somehow need even more proof that everything is beyond broken, the recent Overwatch major at DreamHack had several hours of delays because the tournament admins couldn't figure out how to turn off April Fool's mode.
What's for scoop? our admin put the game on April Fool's settings instead of competitive settings and struggled for ages to figure out how to turn it off. So that's where we're at right now. And
you see what Chris has just said? They've just had a 10-minute pause and they are on the April Fool's patch again. And they can't figure out how to turn it off.
Is there any settings here that look wrong? Mulga health? Tough armor. Does that seem right?
No, it doesn't seem right.
Listen, I know Overwatch runs on a proprietary engine. I know every custom tool needs to be carefully made from scratch. I know that the developers who lovingly maintained the workshop have not worked at Blizzard for years now. I can understand why the workshop won't receive new features going forward, but to see it in this state, where it barely functions at all, it's rough. Regardless of what you think about Overwatch, be it balance, monetization, or cancelled expansions, the game has a great engine and team behind it. And unfortunately, it's always been under lock and key. The workshop is the tiny, tiny sliver of opportunity we have for doing great things with this game. Whether it's creating a fun game mode, answering the burning questions of a fervent player base, or getting Cassidy's ult fixed. Twice. The workshop has done a lot of good for Overwatch, and losing it would be losing a big part of what makes this game special. Wow, that was depressing. On a more positive note, this was a very fun project to work on, and I'd love to make similar content in the future. Between designing the mode, running playtests with viewers, and destroying my computer's RAM during editing, these videos are becoming pretty complex to make. So if you like the channel and want to support me directly, I've opened YouTube memberships. Channel members receive a special badge next to their name, along with wonderfully drawn emotes, with more on the way as they become unlocked. I appreciate everyone's support over the years, and I hope you enjoyed these videos as much as I do. Thank you for watching.
I don't know how Jeff Kaplan talks. Howdy, I'm Jeff Kaplan. I think that's how he sounds.